I've only got 40 slides to get through in 30 minutes. So you're all okay. Anyway, so I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Ram Banga. I joined Professional Advantage back in December. Prior to that, I spent 16 years at just a small software company called Infor, running their Sun Systems practice for my sins. Then I went to do some work at Sage. And then prior to that, I left Sage 2 years after that and then joined a company called Unit 4, worked with Aggresso and Coda and ran their ERP practice there. So I've been in ERP for many years. I bought Sun Systems. I'm a management accountant at heart. I work for central government. We bought Sun Systems back in 1995. I loved it so much I thought, oh my God, I want to go and work in software. What a silly mistake that was. And I've been stuck in it ever since. So that's a bit about me. This is a double act, by the way. My esteemed colleague, he'll introduce himself.
I think a lot of you know me already. I'm John Banks. I'm the Services Manager at Professional Advantage, but also, more importantly for this session, I'm the PA Stream Solutions Architect. I've been at PA since 2008, so I think I'm in that middle graph of that slide that Andrew showed this morning of, I wouldn't say I was the longest serving employee, but, getting there. Yeah.
Cool.
That's me.
Brilliant. So I was asked to do this session, which I am passionate about. I'm passionate about integration. I've been talking to CFOs, FDs, FCs, companies for the last 15, 16 years on projects around how do we integrate, what's important. So when they said, oh, Ram, do you want to do a PA Streams? I was like, fantastic. How long have I got? And they went 15 minutes. I went, ooh, that's going to be interesting. So I'm going to have to try and condense everything that I know in 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And also, it is very high level, so this is just stuff that I really believe in. So I joined Professional Advantage. I think they have a solution that is really good in what it does. Okay, so today's session is all about seamlessly integrating clean, connected data in real time. Focus on those words, real time. So as I said, I'm a management accountant. I've been an FD in central government. So back in the days when finance was just finance, it was, have you paid my expenses? No. Can you get that sorted out? To now, today's finance department has completely changed. So about 10 years ago at Infor, we introduced the Office of CFO concept. We also introduced the Office of Finance concept, and that's really grown. And I think it's really important, and I've watched finance departments grow because we're not just about finance. It's about everything else that the organisation now needs holistically. There was a FT group, there was an article out on, I've been reading quite a few articles, where the pandemic has changed the role of the CFO, of the finance team. And that's purely been driven around the remote working. Departments are demanding, as they said, finance information in real time. I want to know when it happens, how it happens, not when it happened 4 weeks ago because I can't make that change. I need it today. So integration has become a big core part of any finance organisation, any organisation actually. So it's digital transformation. Those two famous words that I heard back in, I think it was 2004, people started talking about it. So it's about how do I get the data in? It's how do I increase my productivity? And I think Andrew touched on a lot of these points. He stole my thunder on some of my presentations. And it's also how do I make my organisation scale? How do I let it to grow without having to do the rip and replace, without having to do complete changes on ERP, work with what we have today. So it has become very interesting. But this hasn't changed. And I kid you not, so my first conversation with a customer around integration must have been around 2004. And those were exactly the same challenges. So my last conversation with a customer around that was about 2019, and they haven't changed, which is interesting. So although technology has moved, organizations still have the same challenges. So what are my challenges? It's too complex. I can't do it because I don't really know what I want. I have no single source of the truth. This is not about BI. It's not about consolidation. It's not about budgeting and forecasting. A common one is I have a lot of manual intervention. And the reason for that is I didn't really understand how the system did it. So what I now do is I do it outside the system, I then import it into the system using Excel or another file format or whatever it is, because that's what I've been doing for 10 years. And I'm not going to change that because it's too hard. Okay? And it's slow and it's error prone because when Doris is off for a week, no one can do anything because no one actually understands what Doris does in the finance department. It's interesting.
Does she?
She probably doesn't actually. Today I'm AP, tomorrow I'm AR. It's all about where do you want to get to and how do you want to get there. So change your operational landscape. I have seen a lot of integration tools. I have worked at Invoice, I have seen Ion, I have seen others. And I have consistently worked with PA Stream since I've been at Professional Advantage. And there are things in this system or this solution that does make it different. Okay? It allows you to, I'm going to read off the slide because I forgot. Oh, there you go. It's simple, because I can't see that far, secure and scalable. And what does that mean? Everything that we do in PA Streams is not about coding. It's about allowing the subject matter experts to build something within your organization that's going to work for you. And then allowing that to then grow. So you're not wasting time on a C++ developer, or I need a Java developer, or someone's built this 9 years ago and no one knows what it is, but it spews out 2 journals that I bring into Sun, and that's what it does. Okay? I need some water. Dry throat. So you improve operational efficiencies, you increase transparency. So the point I made right at the beginning, departments are expecting more from their finance department. This is not just a ledger system anymore. This is where everything goes in. It's interesting, isn't it, when talking to a customer earlier about how they just hived off Sun systems onto a server into a corner and just left it there and just plodded along because it worked. Didn't have to do anything. Once in a while I made some payments, I might have had to do some collections, I raised some invoices, but today is completely different. I use a CRM system, I use payroll, I use HR, I use a marketing system. I have websites of physical people are paying me that need to be fed into my system. So your dusty little server has now become a cloud-based system. It's now become a major part of your infrastructure. So what's different about PA Streams? And this is, my Steve Collins is going to actually demo some of this to you later. He doesn't know that yet. What's important to an organisation today is visual. I need to see it. I need to see it when it happens. I need to understand why it's happened. Okay? I need to have the ability to do the whole... I've grown up in this drag and drop. Is it drag and drop? Can I drag it from one place and drop it into another place? I have no idea what that means, but it makes sense to people. Is it scalable? And that's another part of what PA Streams will do for you. And multi-threaded. Can I use something that I built once multiple times without having to reinvent the wheel? Okay, all of these things are standard. You don't have to do it twice. You don't have to build it 3 times. It is there. It's out of the box. And it is end-user friendly, which is great. I used to do this with customers. It was my journey. Get them to understand the difference between interfacing and integration. Anyone know the difference between interfacing and integration? Anyone want to have a guess?
You've got to stick it in with the integration.
Stick it in.
The integration, it sticks it in itself.
Oh, okay. That's anyone else want to try it? I'll keep that one. Back in the days, I was saying that as I'm like 90 years old. Interfacing was just push and pull. I'm taking data out, I'm pushing it into something else. I don't have to do anything. Don't have to touch it.
Sticking it in.
Stick it in. There you go.
There you go.
Just like a USB stick. Stick it in. Integration, on the other hand, is where it gets really interesting. And it really makes conversations, especially when you're talking to FCs and IT managers or IT directors who think they know and they go, no, oh, is that what it means? Oh, okay. So integration is taking something from a system, changing it, and then pushing it into your target system. So this is standard stuff that I tend to use. And I say simple in theory, complex in practice. It's not meant to be. It actually should be simple in theory, simple in practice. We all know what one of these are, isn't it? It could be anything. It could be CERN, it could be HR, it could be payroll, it could be any system within your organisation that is your source. And the source is where you start from. It's your starting point. Okay? And then you also have your target system. It was a while back, before I went to see a customer, I'll give them some prerequisites and say, oh, think about it logically. Think about what you want to do, how do you want to get the information, what information are you getting out, and where do you want to go to? I gave them back 3 weeks before I had the meeting. Turned up to the meeting, they did nothing. And they went, oh, I thought you could tell us that. I'm going, I don't know your systems. I don't really know what you're trying to do. Okay? And then, of course, it's your journey. How do I get there? And you try and make it as painless as you possibly can. So your first one is the most important bit, is what am I getting? And actually what am I doing? So it's not about just taking data out of your source system. So I mentioned websites, the social media. Something's happening. People are registering. People are paying you. So it's not just about a system. It could be the internet. It could be the web. It could be anything that you think you know you need information from. Okay? PA Streams doesn't care what format that comes in, whether it's CSV, whether it's one of those, JSON, Excel, XML, whatever it is. It doesn't make a difference. The next bit is, I've got my data. I know what it's supposed to look like, and how do I get it to what I need it to look like? So it's all about converting it. And not physical conversion. This is taking something and going, who uses SSE a lot in Transfer Desk? There is this time when you get your flat file out, you've got to remove all the leading zeros, you've got to do something to make it change, so the data has changed. So we would do that with you, would help you through that journey and say, okay, how do you need to format that file? And it could be anything, from financial data, referential data, static data, the whole lot. Okay? And then off the back of that, once we've wrangled it, someone dropped that word in, they said, oh, it's a bit like herding cats because no two forms of data are exactly the same. So how do you bring them all together? Your dependencies. What do I need to do? Before I bring that data into my target system, what do I need to do? So does it need to go to HR to get approved? Does it need to go to the marketing team? Or does it need to go to the sales team? Something has to happen. So make the process more seamless and also allowing others to intervene to allow them to approve something that you are asking them to look at. So it's workflow. It's everything that encompasses what an integration tool should be doing. And recommendations. So someone might say, actually, you've got those wrong, you need to put it in this format. So rather than redoing the whole lot, make one change and it'll filter through. And then finally, into your target system. The difference, and I can only say this because I know it. So at the moment, SSC, Transfer Desk, Tim's not in the room, is he? No, good. When a file fails in SSC or Transfer Desk, you tend to have to wait the following day when you come in because no one's notified you that it's failed. So once you come in, you're going, oh my God, I've had 16 million transactions, 4 payloads, 1 failed, so the whole thing just stops. So you have to run. So what you can do with PA Streams is set those alerts, set those notifications. When something does fail, it is all mobile. You can do it on the go. You can make the changes, and you'll continually keep pushing information through. So it doesn't just stop. This is a constant. There's movement. It has to do something. Okay? So if you are setting up the notifications, setting up your alerts, giving the approvals, making sure that if something fails, someone can act on it, it's real time. You're not waiting 2 days, 3 days, because it's going to happen over the weekend. So I've talked about scheduling, I talked about mapping, logic, messaging. Okay? All done through PA Streams. I could talk about it till the cows come home, but like I said, I'll give it 15 minutes. User examples on these. So we do have live projects. We do have live customers using this. We're talking to a couple more customers in the UK around some of the user examples we have. Mass data management, we all know what that is. It's just taking standard stuff. from some systems around account supplies and all that. Supply chain management, there's a couple of examples we have where they have sensors on their containers, so when their fluid goes down to a certain point, it actually kicks off an alert, sends it to the central, to the, whatever you call, control desk, and then they top up the containers so the fluid's always at one level. Okay, so it's all IoT, sensor driven. It's doing things when it's supposed to do. Wow. So I talked about finance, but I just want to reiterate, PA Stream is not just a finance integration tool. It's holistic to your organization. It's everything that brings it all together. You know, finance is what I've been doing, what I talk about. But when you look at how organizations now interact with each other, it's everything that encompasses something that needs to be done. Be it CRM, be it marketing, be it the whole thing. So with PA Streams, you have something that is effortless, that is end-user based. It is driven around what the subject matters experts know about your organization and how they want to grow it and how do you want to become scalable. I think that is, yeah, that's my last slide. So before I move to the demo, anyone got any questions? Silence. No?
Oh.
Other, oh. Go on then.
Yeah. When you say that PA streams can be linked to a lot of type of information, and if you take like websites, can you actually link PA streams to information, to get information directly from websites,
Yeah.
for example? Or if it's booking.com, TripAdvisor, for example, can you actually do that?
Any website or web service we can connect to. So we've actually done a number of those type of integrations with PA Streams. The most common one is linking out to Company's House. So we've talked about, or Ram mentioned about supplier management. So, you know, we can connect to Dun & Bradstreet, Company's House. Any website that has a web service, yeah, we can connect to. Yeah, not a problem at all. And Charmaine?
So pretty much almost exactly what I was going to ask, just to find out whether it's only for finance type systems or whether it can be applied to any other system for all types of processes.
Anything. So we have. So the point I made right at the beginning is finance is my heart. It's what I talk about. But actually, as finance has grown, it's everything that encompasses the organisation. We aren't just finance anymore. It's a holistic. And PA Streams isn't just finance. You know, I think we've got customers not using it on finance at all, isn't it? So it's not finance driven. It's integration. It's how do I scale within my organisation. And
PA Stream doesn't care.
Yeah.
What your source destination and what your source system or destination system is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And the visualization in these, you know, we talk about dashboards, we talk about real-time information. The visualization in PA Streams is second to none. You know, it's very analytical. We were showing a customer last week about the error message that it can produce and actually the actions required, and you can track it from start to end. So it is very, very, very intuitive, but again, you know, I don't want to end on a bad point, but integration is only as good as you guys make it. And that's really important. You know, the amount of customers who don't think about it in real terms because they are either too conscious that they don't want to upset Doris in AP, or there are other things in the organisation that are happening. So it has to be a company-wide decision around how do you integrate. You know, as much as we drive, you know, having worked as an FD, as much as I can drive and someone saying, this is what you're going to do, they're going, I don't think so somehow. And if you don't like it, I'm going to speak to the boss. So there are, you know, and I make this point over and over again whenever I've done workshops, is understand what you're trying to do, talk about the issues you might face, and then more importantly, how are you going to get there? And then it's the last bit of that jigsaw is how do you maintain it and how do you make it scalable? Okay? Any more? Go on.
Can Doris maintain it then?
Doris can if you train her. So this goes back to the whole we call it, what do we call it?
No code.
User, yeah, so it's low code, there's no code, low code, but it's user profiles, just like Sun Systems. And I refer to Sun Systems because you can say, actually, as an AP clerk, all I want you to do is enter a credit, and that's it. So how you set it up is defined by the user groups that you want to give it to.
So Doris, as long as she's a subject matter expert, will be able to create any streams or maintain any streams. She has to at least know the subject she's.
Yeah.
You know.
If I'm posting an invoice. Any more? No.
Can PS stream look directly in the database to extract information, or will it need to be in the file?
So yeah, it can look at databases, it can look at files, and in fact, what I will probably do now is just give you an overview of PA streams, and just so you can actually see, how it's all put together. Yeah.
Yeah. Pass you over to my trolley dolly. I did ask him to put a dress on. He said no.
We're wearing
Pink,
matching shirts.
yeah.
Okay. Right. Sorry, everyone. Let me just bring up.
As you can see, we rehearsed this about 8:30 this morning.
Right, that's what I want to see. Okay, great. So, PA streams. So PA streams is fundamentally a data stream. And as you can see in this on the screen here, a data stream is a visual representation of the flow of data. So you can see we've got our objects on the screen, lots of arrows. You can see data is flowing around on the screen here. So this is our data stream designer module, and this is where you would create and maintain your PA streams or your data stream. You can see that all of your data here, all of your connected data here is all in one place. It's, as Ram mentioned, it's a very visual module. We can manipulate the data as it's going through the flow, and also we can do real-time monitoring, and that's one of the key things here. Ram mentioned, you're not waiting till the next day to see the output of the data or if anything has gone wrong. Here you can see the data flowing through in real time. And all this can be achieved by Doris, who's our invoice expert. So on the subject of Doris, I just want to show you how easy it is to do the drag and drop. So as an example, I'm just going to drag and drop this object. I'm just going to grab that. That's the drag and drop. So actually, it is drag and drop. We're not just saying it's drag and drop, it is actually drag and drop. And then you can manipulate and set about your process flows. So that's just an example of how Doris could do the drag and drop. Where is my... There you go. I just want to discard that. Okay, so one of the features of PA streams, or certainly within our data stream designer, is versioning. And I just want to cover this off because I don't know how many of you here have to go through a cab process in order to get changes deployed into production. Probably quite a number of you. So version control is really important. And it's one of the strengths of the data stream designer, where you can actually make copies of an existing data stream. You can create new versions of the data stream, and you can make changes without it actually affecting your production environment or your production system. So what that means is, when it comes to deploying any changes, it's literally a matter of selecting the version that you want to publish. And what this means is there's very little downtime. It literally takes seconds, 30 seconds to a minute to deploy a new version. So, I know a lot of you will have weekend work that you have to do because you can't have users off the system. So with this, really helps with that, very, very minimal downtime. And then the other strength of this is, because we've got version control, if it goes wrong, the rollback mechanism is already there. It's built in. Okay, so if it doesn't work, your published changes don't work, you can then easily, within a matter of seconds, revert that back to the previous working version. That should help your CAB process being approved. So let me just get out of here. So you'll see on our canvas here, we've got a number of objects with arrows, interconnecting arrows. And these are what we call agents. So a data stream really is just a number of agents connected together. And what I want to show you just on here, sorry, it's just not the slickest thing. We have a big library of agents. Okay, so we have different types of agents here. So our integration types are what we call agents, and you can see we have a number of different types of agents. But you can see that we have a huge number here of different agents that can be used. And these are available for use for anyone creating their own data stream. So it's not limited in any way. So so you can see we've got a great number of these agents, and we're adding new ones all the time. So it's not a static thing. Whenever we create a new agent, we'll add it to our library, and therefore it's then immediately available for use. So I just wanted to show you our library of agents. So I'm just going to come back to our data stream designer. So I just want to talk about the agents in here. So some of you may have noticed the name of this data stream is called Intelligent Invoice Processing. So Andrew spoke earlier about our Invoice Capture module. This is the Invoice Capture stream. Okay, this is the one that we use. So I just want to sort of briefly cover what it's actually doing, just to give you an idea. So we are listening or polling a mailbox for any emails that have attachments. That is then going through our AI engine in order to pull all of the data from the invoice attachment, whether that's a PDF or an Excel or a Word document. It's then flowing through, the data is being manipulated, transformed. We're doing various checks along the way. And then ultimately at the end, we are creating an XML file that is, it's an XML file formed for IPOS, and IPOS then can consume that XML file, and then your invoice gets submitted like Andrew showed you in his earlier presentation. So more specifically, we have 4 agents here that we are using in this stream. So what you'll notice is we haven't got the full library of agents displayed here because we don't need them. Okay, so we're only using the ones that we need. So I just want to talk about these agents. So we have a listener agent, and a listener agent is basically what it says. It's an agent that will listen for data. whether that's a mailbox, whether that's some kind of database trigger, whether it's a file being placed somewhere. And a listener is the starting point of the stream. Okay, so you need to have a listener because we need to pick data up from our source system. So in our case, we are using an email listener. And what you will see is, I've just double-clicked into that. And for all of our agents that we use, we have this configuration window that pops up. And here, let me just come over here so I can see better. So here you can see we've got some fields available, some properties that we can fill in. So we have our email protocol. So we've got POP3 selected here because that's what PA Streams or Invoice Capture is using. But we do have the option of IMAP. Okay, and Invoice Capture is using an integration to Office 365. Now, this could very easily be an online Exchange server, or it could be Gmail, so, or any email provider we can connect to. But in our case, we're connecting to Office 365. It's probably what most of you are using here. I would have thought a combination of Office 365 or online Exchange. So that's our email listener. We also have context providers. So context providers, again, what the name suggests, it provides context to the stream. So we have a couple of examples in our Invoice Capture stream of a context provider. Andrew spoke earlier about picking up the or getting the supplier code based on the VAT registration number that was held in the invoice. So the way we do that is by using a context provider which connects to the IPOS database. And so I'm just going to double click into that just to show you. And again, we'll have our configuration window hopefully opening up. Yeah. So let me just make this full screen. Okay, so again, we've got some configuration fields that can be entered. So really, it's the connection details for the IPOS system. And what we're doing is just a very simple SQL query where we are interrogating the Sun Systems data in this case to pick up the supply code based on the VAT number. Another example of a context provider is this one here. So again, Andrew spoke earlier about checking IPOS to see if a purchase number is available in the system to match the invoice against. We're not only checking to see if a PO number exists, we're actually validating to make sure that the PO has been receipted. So we are doing those additional checks. And yeah, so that's our couple of context provider examples. I'm just going to quickly move on to transformation, which is our next agent. So you can see we have a number of transformation agents here. So we've got some unions, some joins, and some filters, calculated fields. And these allow us to take the data and then transform it as we need it to be transformed. And what we're doing here for this one, we're actually doing a filter. So we're actually taking the results from the previous agent where we are providing the context by saying, look, do we have a valid purchase order number or not? And what this is doing is filtering. And you can see here we have our two arrows. So it's routing depending on the results of the context provider. So if there is a PO, a valid PO, then it's going to route to this agent. If there is no PO, then it's going to route to our direct invoice agent. And the two agents I've just mentioned now are what we call an action agent. And we have a number of these action agents. And an action agent is really what ends the data stream. It's what then there's an action that then either creates a file, pushes data into another system. This is where we kind of end things, really. And so in our case, we are creating an XML file for IPOS to consume. And if I just double click into here. So what you'll see here is we're creating an XML file. These are the tags that IPOS requires to form the XML file. And you'll see we have our input mappings. And here, basically, this is all of the data that we've collated through the stream. And transformed whatever we may have done, and then we just map those values to the correct XML tags, and then the XML file gets formed. And then at that point, the stream has done its job. IPOS has received the XML file, imported in, and the normal IPOS workflow follows. So just a really brief overview of how PA Streams works. We've got the drag and drop, the no-code ability, as long as you know to a certain extent what you're doing. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea, hopefully with a bit the context around the invoice capture, in order for you to at least think about how this may work for you. So that's my bit, really.
Cool.
More questions or?
No, Nikki's watching us, and we're overrunning. Yeah, we're over. She's already told me.
It was
She actually told me to come and stop you.
No, it's a
halfway.
popular session.
Can I draw that? Yeah, well, whatever.
Thank you, everyone. If you've got any questions, come and speak to me after, or you
Yeah.
can, or if you
Or
want
myself,
to,
actually.
you can speak to Ram or Andrew.
Okay, so I have my last slide. Is that prize giving and close? Sorry, that's not me. Because you won't let me do the prize giving. Who's giving the prize
No,
giving?
we're going to let everybody else back in.